Hey everyone, I'm Stephanie Brinkerhoff with Hair and Makeup by Steph, and I'm here with Kenra Professional, and today I'm walking you guys through a naturally curly hair updo. So this is something that I get asked for a lot, and the technique is a little bit different than just a traditional straight hair updo. So I wanted to walk you guys through my process. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so because she has so much hair, we are going to do this in two sections. So we're gonna start with the bottom. So I'm just gonna get the top portion sectioned out and clipped aside for now. I'm being really soft with my sectioning. I don't wanna work with the hair too much because the more that I mess with it, the frizzier it's gonna get. Okay, so I'm just leaving out both of her sides, and then I have the crown section that I'm going to clip aside, and we'll do this at the end. So what I'm going to do is carefully go in and create some backcombing just at her roots under here. This is the only time I'm gonna do backcombing because backcombing on curly hair can just make it more frizzy if you're not careful. And then I'm spraying that with the Kenra Volume Spray 25. So I just wanna get some backcombing here on the side so that I have a little bit of security for my bobby pins, a little bit of texture in there. She has so much hair, so we definitely need those bobby pins to stay. So now I'm just going to get all of this over in a low ponytail on the side. So because she has so much hair, most of this is gonna end up being covered by the top portion. So I'm not worrying too much about detailing this or anything like that. It's mostly just to create the base section underneath here. And I'm trying to minimize the volume. Since she does have so much natural volume already, I'm only gonna create volume through the top, and I'm gonna keep the bottom a little bit smaller, just so it doesn't end up being too big. Okay, and if you wanna pull out a couple baby hairs, you can. And we can get those curled and keep that kind of nice and soft on the neck there. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna get this wrapped really tightly in a small bun. So this is going right behind her ear, and I'm just twisting this and wrapping it around. Okay, and then I'm leaving out her ends for now, and I'm going to get this pinned. So if you're working with someone who doesn't have quite this much hair, your bun might be a little bit smaller. You might only wrap it around once instead of twice. Okay, so I have all of her ends here. So there's two things that I use every time I work with naturally curly hair and I want to touch it up and make it nice and polished. So the first one is just a 1/4 inch wand. So this is going to be really good at mimicking the natural curl shape and pattern. So just like that. So I'm just going to go through and touch up a bunch of these. I don't want to do all of them because I still want it to look somewhat organic. And then the other thing I use is the Kenra Platinum Working Wax. So this is really, really good for natural curl. This is going to be your best friend when you're polishing these curls. So I'm just going to get some on my fingers, and I'm working with individual curls. So I'm not running my fingers through it or anything like that. I'm just picking up these individual curls and working that through there. Okay, so that's gonna be my process for making this nice and polished, is just touching up with the wand and then working in the pomade. Okay, so once I have this detailed, I'm going to go ahead and start gently scrunching this up and getting it pinned to my bun. So I'm mostly going to fill in the bottom portion because I have all of this hair that I can let down to cover up the top. And once again, I'm still trying to sort of minimize volume. Okay, and as you're doing this, if you see any pieces that still feel a little bit frizzy, you can go in with some more of your product. Okay, and notice as well, as I'm scrunching, I'm leaving my ends loose. So I'm not taking these and wrapping them up, which you can do if you want, But for this one, I want it to look a little bit more deconstructed, so I'm leaving those loose. Okay, so just something like this is what you're going for. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and let down the top, and I'm going to softly get this parted. Once again, just being very gentle, so I'm just doing that slightly off to the right, and then I'm going to go through and touch up my curls in the same way that I was doing the bottom. So I'm gonna start here on the top, and this is gonna be quite a bit more detailing than before because we're working with a larger section and longer pieces. But I'm just going to get these curled and then work my product through there as well. Sometimes I'll go through and back comb the crown a little bit, just depending on how much volume they have naturally. So as you're doing this, it can also be easier just to focus on the top portion of the hair and then worry about the ends once you get them pinned. So if you want to, you can just go through, which is kind of what I've been doing now, and just focus on the top portion of the hair. So I'm leaving the ends out. And then once I get all of the crown area detailed and pinned, then I can focus on detailing the ends. So you'll notice as well as I'm doing this, I'm taking very small sections. So if you take too big of sections, it's going to end up looking too much like an actual ringlet that was curled rather than mimicking a natural curl. So I'm doing very small sections. Okay, now I'm just going in with my pomade again, and I'm focusing a lot at the roots. So I'm gonna focus on really controlling the frizz like all through here. Okay, once you have this smooth and looking kind of how you want it to look, you can kind of start to gently work it over to the top of the chignon. Okay, so I'm leaving out a couple around her face that I can detail with when I'm done. And everything else is just getting pinned back right to the chignon right behind her ear. Okay, so now I'm just getting all of the ends twisted together to get them all in one place. And then I'm going to go in and detail the ends just the same way that we did underneath. So we'll get these detailed and then they'll get pinned on top here. Okay, so now all I have to do is just softly get some of these pieces back around her face. I want to leave some out still. I just want to soften the transition between these two sections. Okay, once I get that back, I'm just going to go through and do some detailing now. So I'm just checking the overall balance of the shape. I'm going to pull on a couple of these to add a little bit of texture in there. And just checking the overall balance and making sure everything looks good.